That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And not Tiki here, ready to talk about rankings.
And if you thought we were unpopular before, wait till you see this week's batch of spicy hot meatball takes.
Yeah,
That's right. It's not just hot takes. It's hot, spicy, hot meatball takes.
correct.
I've invented a new tier of take.
And I'm here to support it. I'm here to support
All
you.
right. Okay, Joker. So I can borderline promise you that a lot of my picks in this particular field are going to be the unpopular ones. Like, I really feel like this is going to be the one that really starts to weed out, you know, the fan favorites from what I consider to be my personal cream of the crop.
Yeah,
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
that's okay. I mean, also the other thing, we are officially at the halfway point. So, pop some champagne.
Feels like it
Uh,
feels like we should be longer than the halfway point.
yeah, it's okay. Well, you went on vacation. I've been busy on
That's
some
true.
weekends, so we've been
Yeah.
having some scheduling issues. But we're here right now for you, for each other. And I'm ready
I'm
to.
literally looking at the first like 5 or 6 entries on my list, and I'm like, I'm in trouble with all of these.
I don't think any of mine are like bad. I mean, at that just as well. Like we're at a point where like none of these rides are like bad. I would
uh,
say, or they're rides that we
I would
dislike.
say they are at the very least good.
Yeah. For me, it's more. I just have rides that I like more.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so I believe I went first last time.
I think you're right. It's been a while, so I'll go first.
Okay, do
My
it.
number 30 is Frozen Ever After. Um,
Okay, all right.
because it is a perfectly fine attraction. It is middle of the road. Um, I don't know. I think the queue in the
Believe it
first
or not,
scene.
that's not going to be on this tier for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
um, I really like the queue in the first scene, but I feel like the middle just kind of drags and it doesn't really do much for me. Um, Elsa's floppy arms have always bothered me. Um, I don't know. It's just not really my thing. I loved Maelstrom. That's not why this is so low. I promise.
I, as you know, I do have some nostalgic connections to the bakery right across the street connected to this
Oh
ride.
yeah. The bakery's great. Yeah.
And that honestly might be kind of like blinding my opinion of this a little bit because I got the full kind of like frozen rope drop, like rope drop it twice, then go into the bakery when it's still uncrowded and just be
Mm.
absolutely regaled by those nice cast members. So I
No,
don't know. I
that's
feel like I got the red carpet treatment when it comes to Frozen Ever After.
that's fair. Like I enjoy Frozen Ever After. I enjoy that they did something with World Showcase, even
Uh-huh.
though it meant we had to get rid of Maelstrom. But I don't know. It's just kind of a middling ride for me.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Right, number 30 for me, and I am a fan of it, but there's a couple asterisks. The first of which is it's not as permanent of attraction as some of these others, so I can't put it too high up, and it just recently got redone. I don't know what the redo's like. So I'm going to put it right here, Finding Nemo, the musical, probably a little bit too high, I will admit, but I am a sucker for puppets and musicals and live stage shows. I honestly think when I did see the original incarnation of the show, it had hands down some of the most impressive live puppet work I've ever seen on stage.
Mm.
So I do think this is a gem. I really do. I think the cast they had when I was seeing it was incredibly talented. All of them fit their roles really super well, like a glove.
Mm.
They weren't trying to do Ellen DeGeneres or Albert Brooks impressions. They were just kind of naturally their characters. I don't know. I really like this. I think it fits in very well with Animal Kingdom. I've already kind of reminisced that when I'm in the seas with Nemo and friends and I hear Big Blue World, I always think like, oh man, I wish I was in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Or when I'm in Epcot. I'm sorry. Anyways.
Mm.
So yeah, this is I feel like this is a good place as any to start. I feel like I probably rank it higher than most people do, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think like I don't know, I think I need to see it again. Um, yeah. So, my 29. I think you've already talked about this, I'm pretty sure. My 29 is Star Tours: The Adventure
I
Continues.
definitely talked about
I
Star
thought you
Tours.
had. I like Star Tours.
Star
It's
Tours
fun.
is like actually way down. It was way down on
I
my number
know.
49.
I
Yeah.
thought so. Um, I like Star Tours. I have nothing against Star Tours. I think it's kind of redundant with Galaxy's Edge now. Um, and I don't know. I don't know which one I like better. Like which version of Star Tours. I probably like the original better. But my biggest thing is like I don't know the sorry the random this the ride kind of takes away a little bit from the experience for me, I think. And I don't like how when they have some sort of tie-in that's like the one video you see
Yeah.
for 6 months.
Yeah, for
So half
sure.
of the
For sure.
randomness is half of the variety isn't even operating mostly. So I don't know. I like Star Tours, but I wouldn't be sad if they got rid of it
All right.
at this point.
Number 29 for me. This is an interesting one, a very polarizing attraction from all ends. I really don't think there's a consensus on like, is it a great attraction? Is it a terrible attraction? Who knows? For me, I'm ranking it as high as it is because I do think it is a great piece of placemaking that visually ties the surrounding area together. That being said, as an attraction, it's all right. Like, it's certainly not worth the wait, but it's fun. It's a fun little ride. So with that in mind, I'm going Seven Dwarfs Mine Train for number 29.
Okay.
Like I said, I admire this one a lot more for being this cool weenie in the middle of Fantasyland that's kind of like winding around all the hills, and I like that you can hear hi ho through the mine as the cars pull into the lift hill and stuff like that. I
Mm,
think this adds a lot of energy to the surrounding area.
mm. No, absolutely. Like you've never seen it before. When it was just the empty 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea
I
lagoon.
have no idea what the guy. I think I've seen a video of Pooh's playful spot, and it's hard for me to even wrap my mind around that
Oh
being.
yeah, they did that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just remember it from when before they filled in the lagoon, and it was just like this dead part of the park. There was nothing there.
uh huh.
They did a meet and greet on the loading dock. But so I appreciate what Seven Dwarfs Mine Train added to Fantasyland. No, yeah.
Now it kind of blows my mind that this is something that I've noticed with Disney as opposed to Universal, where it's like I feel like with Universal attractions are very good at like once there is a bigger scale attraction that is opened up in the same park, the line for the previous e-ticket it'll essentially become a supporting attraction overnight. Like I think a good example of that is something like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and then Harry Potter and or Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbikes, where Hagrid's is now obviously the headliner attraction in Hogsmeade, and Forbidden Journey is kind of like this nice little supporting attraction that you can do in like that usually doesn't have more than like a 20-minute wait. And I feel like with Disney, it's probably just because of the way they run their crowd control and the lightning lanes and whatnot. That probably has something to do with it. But even stuff like fucking aliens rolling saucers and Navi River Journey is just like a challenge to get on years later when they were already like total supporting attractions within their land lineups.
Yeah, I don't really know why that's the case. I don't know if I fully agree with you. It's like I'm
Well,
sure
believe
for
me, I was like obviously I was just at Universal, and I can
well
tell
no,
you,
I know.
even, like even something like Hagrid's, I never had to wait more than like 40 minutes for.
Yeah, but I'm sure during the summer Forbidden Journey is still getting pretty bad waits. Um
And
The only
that's why
thing I
God
can
invented single rider, and that single rider is the best single rider in the resort.
Well, that is a very good point that Disney doesn't have single rider. But Universal does, and I'm sure that helps a bit.
Anyway,
I don't know. The only thing I could think of is just because, other than your example, a lot of these new Disney rides aren't really built around supporting attractions.
yeah,
Like
fair.
Ratatouille is just in its own corner with nothing around it.
Uh-huh.
Galaxy's Edge was basically two e-tickets next to each other.
Makes me wonder if the lines for Test Track and Mission Space are going up or down with Guardians in the area.
That's a good question. I would think Test Track would stay the same.
Mission
Um,
Space maybe down a little.
Probably, yeah, because Test
Uh-huh.
Track doesn't really have amazing capacity, I don't think. And
All
it's
right.
very
Anyway,
popular. Sorry, anyway.
so what's your 29?
Speaking capacity issues, my number 29 is Navi River Journey.
Oh boy.
Um, I like the vibes. I like it.
I do like the vibes as well. I will not argue with the vibes of this thing.
Yeah, I recognize them far enough away for the shaman to not grab me. And I appreciate the animatronic. My only real issue is the length. I wish it was longer. I wish capacity was a little better.
Yeah, I don't even
Um,
really mind the fact that there's not as many physical animatronics, because I've made this argument before. To me, like, the effects almost feel like a spiritual successor of something like Adventure Through Inner Space, where a lot of it is more kind of like practical and projection based, like
yeah,
little illusions and stuff.
no, I agree. I just really like the vibe. It's like an extended Bayou scene from Pirates.
Totally,
Um,
totally.
yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I think all the effects are very effective. It doesn't necessarily need the animatronics. Or rather, you're
What if
not
at one point,
missing.
this is probably far fetched, but what if at one point they were planning on Flight of Passage being this big like Rise of the Resistance style attraction where you take the boat ride as like the first leg of the journey?
I doubt it.
That would be insane though.
I know. Initially, it was supposed to be like double the length. I know it's supposed to be a bigger. It was supposed to be like a D ticket, then they had to downgrade it to like a C.
Uh-huh.
Because of budget constraints. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's a fun ride. It's just the queue sucks and it's too short.
All right. Well, this one, the queue is good, but it's certainly too short. So we're ripping off one of the band-aids, one of the big hallmark band-aids of the WDW attraction roster, one of the more infamous, like, this is good, but it's so much better at Disneyland. We're doing Pirates. Pirates at
Really?
number 28.
Okay.
I'm honestly surprised you're surprised.
I am surprised.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. This is about as high as I could have possibly ranked this, in my
All right.
opinion.
Whatever you gotta do.
I mean, I think outside of the queue, everything else about this is just the inferior version by a pretty wide margin.
Yes and no. I mean, my thing is I think the queue really elevates it, but also there are some
Well, my
quality of
thing is, I
life.
think the bio really elevates Disneyland's.
Well, no, you're right about that. I totally agree. But there are some quality of life things. There's no upwards waterfall. There's no there's a few other things that they changed, but there's some changes that I appreciate.
It's odd because I feel like out of all the clone stuff between the two resorts, this is the one that it most feels like essentially what they did was they basically took like a big empty warehouse and then copy and pasted in the layout.
Well, the way I've seen it described was sort of as a greatest hits of
Yeah,
Pirates,
essentially, yes.
and they only did it because they needed it because people kept complaining.
And you can tell, and you
Oh
can
no,
tell that
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
so. I don't know, man. Like, to me, I really just I cannot get fully immersed into this thing. I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's one of those things where it's like I certainly will not actively avoid doing it. If I walk by it, I'm not holding up my nose and being like, "Pu, I could do
Yeah.
that at Disneyland." Because you're right. I think the stuff with the queue itself is enough to differentiate it. But I'm saying there's some real hallmarks down the list as far as like stuff to compare to compare to Disneyland, where I
I
don't
mean,
even think.
you can't really fairly compare it to Disneyland's because it's so different.
But I'm
But
saying a lot of these, like like I have Haunted Mansion pretty high up, and it's kind of a similar issue of the Haunted Mansion here and at Disneyland are very similar, but I just think just very minor but effective things that they do in this Haunted Mansion really elevate it.
yeah, no, I get you. Not to get on my high horse again, but I do think that the perfect version of Pirates is in Tokyo. Because it really is the best of both worlds. Where you
I've
have
even heard Ezra say the Paris version is the best.
I could see Paris as being the best as well, but from like the classic, like the
Uh-huh.
versions that don't change the that don't change the layout.
It's like,
I
yeah,
would
we all
say
know that Shanghai's is probably technically the best.
oh well I'm not even counting Shanghai. That's
No,
totally
of
the fair
course, yeah,
attraction.
yeah.
But like Tokyo slightly streamlined. It has Disneyland's queue, which is the one thing against it. I wish it had a Disney World's queue.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to go up the waterfall at the end, so it has the separate unload.
You still get stacked though.
Yeah, but that's always going to happen. That's just the nature of the ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll talk about Pirates when I get to it in
I'm
my
just saying
ranking.
it's a little bit weirder to get stacked like midway through the burning village than it is to get stacked like in the armory room. That's
You're
all
not
I'm
getting
saying.
stacked in the village. You get stacked in the
Oh, I've
I
been
got
stacked in the village before, my friend.
well, no, I'm sure because they run so many boats. But
Yeah.
in Tokyo, I was getting stacked in the armory.
Uh-huh.
I was getting stacked right around the dog in the jail.
I think anywhere past there is like an acceptable stacking point.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. Anyway, what are we at? 27.
27.
This might anger you, Tiki. I don't know
Oh
why. I
no.
don't know if it actually will. But my 27 is the Enchanted Tiki Room.
No,
Uh,
actually, believe it or not, that is not going to anger me. Where is the tiki room on
did
my
you
list?
forget it?
Did I already do it?
You just look at your list again, and it's number
Yeah,
one. Like
no, it's
what?
number 35.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I made the point where it's like I just think that it's far inferior to the Disneyland version because it's not nearly as intimate. I don't know, just the
Hmm.
scale of it is off. The pre-show is not nearly as good.
No, that's fair. Um.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't have the same sort of like it doesn't feel nearly as essential to Magic Kingdom as it does to Disneyland, if that
No,
makes
I
sense.
agree. I definitely agree. I don't really have a lot to say about the Tiki Room, but like, it's a good show. But I think there are. I think the other versions of the show are the superior versions to Disney World's.
Oh,
Obviously, Disneyland's is the classic, and then Tokyo's is just like a really cool update that they should have done in the US.
so maybe don't touch the Disneyland one.
No, no, I mean at Disney World, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
under new management should have been Aloha Ikobo Mai.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, if they really wanted to bring a new character into it, they could have waited what like 2 years
Now
and
that I
added
think about
Stitch.
it, I'm like honestly kind of slightly surprised that they didn't touch any of the original voice performances in the Tiki Room during D23.
What do you mean? Why? Oh, because of
We're
the
gonna have a chance to
yeah.
bring George Lopez in as Jose, so
No,
it's
I
culturally
thought you meant
sensitive.
yeah, I thought you meant they're gonna remove the racism, not like not like change the voice actors.
Well, I feel like in their mind, changing the
No.
voice actors would be removing the racism.
All the birds are culturally nondescript. Jose is Joseph.
And all the birds use walkie talkies instead of
Yeah.
guns.
Fritz is Frank.
Every time I went on ET, they do have the one scene where you're going over the police officer with the gun, and I'm like, no, no, you should be using a walkie-talkie.
That's very true. They never updated the ride in
They never
2002.
did.
They should
No,
have. They should have.
it shook me.
Guns in my
Because
ET.
when I'm on that attraction, I am assuming the role of a small child on that bike.
Yeah, I would have been really scared if I saw someone with a gun.
All right, come on. Probably shouldn't joke about this with Halloween Horror Nights and all the bullshit going on with haunt events.
It's
Anyway.
okay.
Okay,
Anyway,
number
you're 27.
27 for me. The ride is okay. I think the queue is kind of a masterclass as far as like the kinetic energy and the build up to the station and everything. So I'm doing Smuggler's Run.
Okay.
Um, I really, really, really like how the queue evolves, where it's like at first you're outside by the Falcon, and then you go into the innards of the repair shop, and you see all the shit parts, and you see the crew stations and the popcorn and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
then all the way up till the big view of the Falcon, and then you go in to see Hondo, and then that kind of like that airport ramp kind of thing going into the Falcon. I mean, it all just feels like that whole queue feels like it could have been like a walkthrough experience in its own right.
Hmm.
And then the ride happens and it's just kind of okay. We go and we get some Colaxium. If you've played it more than like 3 times, you probably know exactly how to get the 2 Colaxiums and call it a day.
Yeah.
So
If
I
this
don't
was
know.
built like 30 years ago, it probably would have just been a walkthrough.
But that's what I'm saying though. That is why I do rank it this high, because it does have that energy of being something that would have been designed as a walkthrough.
Hmm.
Except
No,
it does
totally.
have a simulator at the end.
Yeah.
A simulator that, in my opinion, is less cool than the actual walkthrough part of it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I do I have made the one argument I have made with Falcon is that I do like it very much does feel like I have been in that capsule with six friends before, and that is absolutely when the game is at its best. It is very much like a co-op video game where it's like if you're playing it single player, if you're going in on your own, you're not going to have a great time. It's like
Hmm.
you'll get the basics of it. But if you've got that 6-person LAN party going on, oh, it's going to be a fun time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I really do feel like that's a lot of where Smugglers Run kind of like shines, is in that kind of like group participation factor.
Hmm.
And I still like the fact that like the 3 different positions have different advantages and disadvantages where, obviously the punch it to light speed is going to be the big fan favorite position, even though you're not really doing much. And then I feel like the gunner position, you have, that's probably the most dynamic actual gameplay because it's essentially just a big shooting game the whole time.
Hmm.
And then you have, the mechanics, and they basically just have the best seat in the house and get to kick back and press a few buttons while other people do the harder work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like that it's an evolving attraction as far as like what you can do and experiment with it in a group setting. I just feel like there should be more variations to that experiment.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that unlike Star Tours, this needs variety. Um, or at least some way to, I guess, make it more consistent.
Uh-huh.
Because that's my biggest thing is if you're with a shitty crew, then it's not a good experience.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, what's
Uh,
your number 26, I believe we're on?
26, yeah, my 26. This one might actually make you mad. My 26 is Grand Fiesta Tour.
Yeah, that makes me a little upset. That's in my top 10.
I know. The only reason I don't have it so high is because obviously there's rides that I prefer to it.
I mean, I fully admit that Grand Fiesta Tour is probably the most biased thing on my
Yeah.
list, for
No,
sure.
like I really love this ride. Like I love the Mexico Pavilion. I always ride this probably multiple times when I go to Disney. At least once an Epcot visit, probably
Uh-huh.
usually. Um, but I don't know. I've never liked the over reliance on screens. Um, the only scenes that I really like are the end scene, and I like the Fiesta scene towards the beginning. Um, but also weirdly, it's just like a weird case of me having more nostalgia for the original version of the ride.
That's
Um,
totally fair.
and like I haven't even seen the original version of the ride in a really long time,
I
like
just have
videos or
I
anything.
have a lot of like mad nostalgia and feelings for that section of track right when you leave the station and you're floating past the waterfall.
Oh no, I adore that section too.
Uh-huh.
That's a great scene.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It's a really cool ride. I really enjoy it, but it's not like nothing sets it over the edge for me to rank it higher.
It's fair.
Like there are other more iconic rides. There are other rides that I like more. But I still really enjoy this ride, and I will do it as often as I can.
All right, so cracking out another iconic one for me, number 26. I don't know, man. This one's always been tricky for me in Walt Disney World. I feel like it's kind of similar to the Tiki Room, where it has its place in the Magic Kingdom. I just don't think it shines nearly as bright or its history is nearly as revered in the Magic Kingdom, and that's going to
Mm.
be It's a Small World.
Oh, look at that, Tiki. That's my number 25.
Well, what do you know?
Yeah.
All right. So obviously the big thing between this and Disneyland's is the exterior.
Mm.
But I don't think it's just that. I really don't. I think the one advantage this one has over the Disneyland version is the flooded room concept for sure. I
Yeah.
think that is cool.
Yeah.
That being said, like every time I do this, I don't know, it just I feel like every little component about this is just a little bit worse than the Disneyland one. Everything from the layout to the lighting to the paint. I It just feels like the Disneyland one is just slightly better taken care of.
So it's been a very long time since I've been on Disneyland's version. And I'm probably biased because my last ride on Small World was to Tokyo, which I believe other that they added the Disney characters, but I believe other than that, it's like a clone of Disney World's. I think. Um, but I think it's this. I think it's other than the facade. I think Disney World's, or at least the layout of Disney World's, is the superior layout. I much prefer the flooded rooms, the flooded scenes. Um, I can't speak on the paint or the effects because I've always felt both coasts versions had broken effects, um, and some wear and tear that never really quite goes away. um, but there's just a few things, especially the flooded rooms and some of the change ups in the scenes that I prefer to Disney that I prefer to
What
Disneyland's.
about the lighting? Because I've always felt the lighting is just a little bit more drab in the Disney World version.
Again, it's been too long, but I don't remember the lighting being too different from Disneyland's. Um, again, Tokyo's is very bright. But yeah, I would just need to ride Disneyland's again to like make that comparison to be able to make that
Mhm.
comparison again. No.
All
Anything
right.
else in It's a Small World?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, go again because I just did my 25.
Okay, number 25 on my end. This might make you angry.
It better not. I swear to God.
Oh God. The first half is great, but I just think that at this point in time, that second half is just mm, that second half is just really really showing its age and really just kind of dragging down the whole experience to the point where it actively makes me not want to go on it, and that is Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, I have it ranked a lot higher. Um, but I like Spaceship Earth
Now
for
keep
the
in mind with
idea.
Spaceship Earth, I do not the only nostalgia I have for this thing is just as an icon and the anticipation of getting to ride it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, so when I did finally get to ride it, my mind was blown up until that terrible future segment, and then I'm just like, what is this? Like, I'm just gonna take a nap on the way down every time I do this again.
Yeah, your mind would have been a lot more blown in the Jeremy Irons version.
I'm sure it would have.
That was the perfect descent, and then they removed it all. Or they didn't remove it. They covered it up because apparently it's all still there behind the weird triangles and star fields.
So yeah, I don't know why that happened. I think the rest of the ride is pretty damn good.
That was around the time that Disney was getting really into interactivity.
Uh-huh.
So that's exactly why it's the way it is.
I'm not a
Because that
fan of
was
the
a.
Ice Age room. I'll say that.
You're not a fan?
No.
Just the Omnimax or the
Yeah,
cave
just
as
the
well?
fact that it's just like a big, like, yeah, like a big IMAX screen in the middle of this dark ride. In the room itself feels kind of claustrophobic.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it's just space constraints.
Uh-huh.
I just keep I think of it more as like a place setting. Um, I don't remember what it was in the '94 version. I feel like it was something more abstract, but it's been a while since I've watched it. I'll have to look into it. But it's never bothered me personally.
All right.
Yeah, my 24. Um, you talked about it already. My 24 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
it's a fun ride. I
Not a
enjoyed.
bad ride by any means, but
Yeah,
a little on the unsubstantial side.
yeah. I will forever mourn the loss of Mr. Toad. Um, but I like what it. I like what it does to change up the classic Fantasyland Dark ride. Obviously, it's not Tokyo's, but I like the movement in the vehicle. Um, I think that's like a really cool thing that they did, and I wish more dark rides at Disney would do that because that's the only Fantasyland Dark ride I can think of that does something like that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
There's a lot more Disneyland ones that do that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say past what we talked about last time. But I enjoy it. I don't like the queue. Or rather, I like the new interactive part, like the outside part.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the queue's never really done much for me. It's just book pages, and I don't come to theme parks to read. Um, so yeah, it's a fun ride.
All right, number 24. This might be a little too high for you, but honestly, I'm just kind of ranking it on just like it's weirdly one of the few Disney e-tickets now that I have had like absolutely no trouble just walking on it whenever I've been in the park. And I don't know if
Mm.
I've just been hitting it at really good points, but having grown up with it at California Adventure and it having just constantly like 2 hour long lines, I feel like the accessibility of it is just it's nice considering the nature of it and how relaxing it is. It's nice to just be able to walk on it without much worry on the wait time. I think it actually fits into its pavilion super well. It's soaring.
Yeah, I think that third theater they added really helped
Totally.
because
Totally.
a big reason why I didn't like it was before the third theater. The queues were consistently like hour and a half, 2 hours.
No, I'm telling you, every like I've done this like 3 times since they added that theater, and every
Yeah.
time it's been marked as like a 15-minute wait, and I've
No,
literally
I
walked
know.
right on.
It was like that the few times I went in
Yeah.
2019, 2020.
And
Yeah.
so just the ease of convenience. I mean, Soarin' is never going to be like the greatest Disney attraction, but I do think for what it is, like I feel like it's a hell of a lot more appealing to me as like something that I can just choose to do to get off my feet and relax and take in some sights than a big fast pass thing that I have to like plan half the day around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it used to be.
And so because of that, I am ranking Soren quite high. And I'll open the floodgates. I like Soren over the world better than Soren over California. I'm
I
one of
I
those
abs
weird people.
I absolutely agree that Over the World is better than California.
Thank you. It's I don't know. I just think the scale of it is a lot better. Like in California, it's not like California doesn't have weird CG, like the hang glider, shit like that.
Yeah. Michael Eisner's golf ball, like he couldn't make that shot.
Mhm.
That never happened.
Right, right.
Yeah. But no, I definitely get you. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Okay.
Um, but, yeah. Soren's fine. It's a lot better now that it's that you can actually ride it without planning your day around it.
Right.
So, and Over the World really did help a lot for me. No. Yeah. So my number 23 is Country Bear Jamboree.
What?
That rhymed, Tiki. It's like I wrote a
That
song
did
with the
it. That
Country
did it.
Bears.
How dare you have the Country Bears out of the top 10?
No, it's because Tokyo's is so much better.
How dare you?
Tiki, it's really because Disney World's is so
The
disused.
Country Bears are Florida icons.
Yeah, if they're Florida icons, maybe they could get some refurbishment.
Oh my god.
Maybe they could get some service.
All right. I am
Gomer's
unhappy
fur
about
isn't
this.
peeling off. We have leper bears in this theater.
Oh god.
No, I love Country Bears. It's really because it's honestly because Tokyo's is just so much more superior.
Tokyo has unlimited money. That's not.
No,
a
they
fair
do not.
comparison.
That is not fair to say. That is not fair for me to say.
Tokyo probably has a fucking carousel that blows people's minds.
No, it's a normal carousel. I was pretty well impressed.
It's probably like 5 stories tall.
It's a 1-story tall carousel on a pedestal. It's actually the carousel is the castle.
Oh god.
No, I love Country Bears. That is an established fact. You know that about me. It is one of my personality traits. But they just gotta fucking do something with it. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, they changed the costumes, like 10 years ago? Those costumes don't look good. They're weird costumes. They don't need neckties. They're bears. They're country bears. They don't wear neckties. They wear bolo ties. I don't know. I don't like a lot of the changes they did to Disney Worlds. Where Tokyo's, like, they've obviously updated it. They've obviously refurbished it. But they didn't change anything. So it still looks like it always has. It just, everything looks brand new. All the effects work there, which isn't quite true in Disney World. Disney World's only has the one theater, which I think can be frustrating with crowds sometimes.
It has led to, I have been in that.
Yeah. And that's not really the fault of the attraction. It's because Disney World's was the first version. But I still
and it was
give
because
Tokyo.
when I was there, they were doing the COVID capacity thing. So.
Oh yeah. But I still give Tokyo the leg up because of that.
They were loading like every other row.
Yeah. I just think that Disney World is the inferior version. Somewhat because of its age, but also because I don't like the changes that they've made to it. But that being said, I still really enjoy Country Bear. It's a great show. If they ever got rid of it, I would riot. But yeah,
I'm sending some stuff your way because I need help making a thumbnail, so don't be alarmed.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I will send you written instructions once I send it, all right?
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. My number 23 Joker, looks like we're going to need some backstage passes.
You can't say that after you almost called me Dragon.
I'm sorry. Backstage passes, yo.
Wow. What could it be?
Roller coaster.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Super fun ride. I really like Rock and Roller Coaster. I think the station is honestly one of the most creative stations that Disney has done as far as like it's Disney's attempt at a grimy aesthetic, and I actually think they pull it off really well. I actually really like the fact that it starts in that grimy alleyway and then ends in the in the big Hollywood premiere concert thing. I feel like there is a sense of progression on this ride. And the ride itself is a lot of fun. I mean, it's nothing special. It's, it's not going to like scratch the itch of like some of the more highly themed Universal coasters out there. It's certainly a prototype to stuff like Revenge of the Mummy or Escape from Dream Gods and stuff like that. But It's still just a hell of a lot of fun. It's got the meme potential with the pre-show, one of the most memey pre-shows in the resort. I like it quite a bit.
Good. Well, I think it's just fine.
You had it ranked like pretty low, right?
Yeah, I don't remember where. I think we talked about it last time.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't too low. I had it as my 31.
All right.
Yeah. So my 22. My 22, you already talked about it. I guess I talked about it a little bit. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I enjoy it. I think it's a really cool like middle step between Barnstormer and Big Thunder. My issues with it are the length. It's really short. Honestly, I think that's my biggest issue with it because I really like the dark ride scene. I really like the brake run scene. I think that's really cool, like a really creative way to bring those animatronics back, or to keep those animatronics rather. I just think the ride's way too short. Like I wish there was just, like something else in it, and I would rank it a lot higher. But as it is, it's just like a good family coaster. I have a fun time riding it. I enjoy riding it. But it feels like it's missing something. It needs a little oomph.
Okay. Yeah. And like, do you have any thoughts just as as far as the placemaking goes?
No, I really like the placemaking. I know some people have issues with it, but I think it's cool that you can like walk the entire loop around the coaster.
Right, for sure.
Especially a mountain coaster like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's better than an empty lagoon, unfortunately. I don't think it really messes up crowds too much. I think the area around it is wide enough that it doesn't really affect anything. And I like having a mountain in Fantasyland. I think it's unique.
It's a better mountain than the Beauty and the Beast mountain, that's for sure.
I know.
Especially once you compare it to the Tokyo one.
They should have just done Tokyo. I don't know why they didn't do that. I mean, granted, it was 10 years ago, but I don't think.
So if you want to look on Messenger,
I already looked at it. Yeah.
Do you think you could? Is it
I
possible?
let's talk about it after the show.
Fuck. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 22. This is another fan favorite. In Florida, I absolutely think it has a place, and I absolutely think it has a culture, and I absolutely think it has a following. And we're getting into attractions that are very, very high quality. And I do think the one at Disneyland is just slightly better, but this does have its own charm. I'm talking Jungle Cruise.
Okay.
Wait,
you think Disneyland's is better? Really?
I think the cave on this one is a little bit pointless. I don't like the fact that the skipper basically goes quiet through the cave. I actually really like the layout of the Disneyland one a lot more. I just think it's got a better flow to it. It's got some more exciting effects like the piranhas and some explosions.
That's fair. That's fair.
That just aren't in this version. And plus, it's the original. It's it's the old school. It's the original e-ticket with the original animatronic animals. I mean, just from a historical point of view, it's one of the most valuable rides in all of Disneyland.
That's fair.
But yeah, I certainly think the Florida version absolutely has its place. I do like the queue, although the queue, I don't know. It's funny. I don't think the queue is as good as Disneyland's, but it's also a little bit more convenient than Disneyland's.
You don't like going upstairs?
I'm saying I appreciate the detail and the rural building upstairs, but it is very cramped up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just overall a very very quintessential Walt Disney World ride. Almost made it into my top 20, but I just think I just think the one at Disneyland with all of its historical significance is just shines a little bit brighter than this one does. So
good. Give me. Okay, I don't know why this is ranked so low. I made this list 2 months ago. I'm not entirely sure if I agree with it now. But I also don't want to remake the list, like scramble to remake the list. So my 21 is the People Mover. I love the People Mover.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? It's kind of like the People Mover is great. It's in my top 10, but I could see someone being a little meh on it if they don't get the culture behind it.
I mean, I'm definitely not mad at it. I adore the People Mover.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I might have
I'm
just.
just saying, I don't necessarily think it's got as much universal appeal as some people want to say it has.
No, that's totally fair. It's not like this cultural phenomenon like like some people act like it is. We won't get to it for a little bit, but I honestly might switch this with Kilimanjaro Safari.
That's
Um,
fair.
maybe, but I'll talk about that when we get to Kilimanjaro Safari. Could it be next week or the week after that? Stay tuned and find out. Or the week after that. We have 3 more weeks
Oh my
of
god.
of ranking, so get ready.
Assuming that all 3 of those weeks we actually do a show, which is a
Well, they
big
might not be consecutive, but there will be 3 more weeks of shows.
fair, fair.
Yeah, no, I love the People Mover. I ride it all the time, like multiple times a trip. Um, I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's just a really good ride. I really enjoy it. It's relaxing. I like the Epcot model. I like the scenes. Weirdly, I think I have more nostalgia for the TTA version of it. Like the Tomorrowland '94 version that a lot of people didn't like. Um, but I like the personality that it has. And I like that it's standing and operating. So we got that going for us.
Take that, Disneyland. We only have one of those two. God. All right. Okay. My number 21, I've been pretty outspoken against this attraction since it first opened and I first did it. I don't hate it by any means. I think it's a pretty impressive technology showpiece. I just, for me personally, it lacks a lot of the intimacy and a lot of this general, like, freeform storytelling that I look for in my Disney e-tickets. I think it's a little bit too linear. And I think the presentation is a little bit too sterile and too flashy. And I just don't know. I just question the rewrite writability because it's such a straightforward experience that I feel like it leaves very little up to the imagination. And that's where my criticism has come from. Can you guess what it is?
No, I can't.
Number 21 is Rise of the Resistance.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I've always been kind of outspoken against this one.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think it's a top 20 ride. Like I just couldn't put it in the top 20. It's close. I mean, just as far as it's another one where I do truly think that the actual walkthrough parts of it are a little bit more immersive than the actual attraction. I'm sorry, but for the best attraction ever, it's got some pretty lame animatronics. That Finn animatronic is going to haunt my nightmares. I just don't like the fact that the whole thing just feels like this sterile movie set.
I mean, Tiki,
Like
it's
I
Star
said,
Wars.
yeah, but it's
You're
but
on a
like
Star Destroyer. What are you talking about?
it feels like a movie set. It feels too clean. It feels I don't
It's a
know.
Star Destroyer.
I understand that, but when I'm trying to get, but I feel like again, this just kind of speaks to my personal taste with Disney parks, but like with
I like
Star
them
Wars, I
dirty.
feel like I'd rather be on like an alien planet than just like okay, this super sterile spaceship.
I mean, I don't want to argue, but there's an entire land that's an alien planet.
Yeah, there's an entire land that's an alien planet, and you know what that land could have had was a dark ride. I don't know. I just again, I do think that my bigger overall problem with this is I feel like the storyline is just very, very spoon fed to you in a way that Disney attractions just haven't been before this.
Yeah, you can
And
definitely tell they were going for something different.
and even doing it twice, a lot of the surprise factor was just gone for me. And I just kind of felt like I was going through the motions instead of having the experience. And I'll give you a perfect example of an attraction from around the same era that I think just nails the kind of the free flow, kind of like non-linear narrative, and that is actually Flight of Passage. Because Flight of Passage from top to bottom is all about the experience. That's what that whole freaking story is about, is the experience itself. Whereas Rise, it's all about the story. It's all about the mission. It's all, and so it's like, I don't know. It's like once you play your bag of tricks with, with the transport vessel and with the opening up to the group of stormtroopers and the resistance rescuing you and the drop track and everything, those are all a very impressive bag of tricks, to be sure. Once you play them, I don't know how effective this ride is going to be on the fifth time, the sixth time, the seventh time. Whereas I feel like other attractions like Pirates, like Haunted Mansion, and in my humble opinion, like Flight of Passage will be in the future, I feel like these attractions are simply very evergreen attractions where, it's got that cocktail party vibe where, you can just go on it over and over and over again and catch something new. And I just do not think Rise of the Resistance is going to have that same sort of repeat factor. I think it's going to be very popular for years to come just because of how flashy it is, but it just does not have the same sort of soul to me that a lot of other Imagineering projects have in the storytelling department.
I understand what you're saying, but I disagree.
That's totally fine.
I rode it twice, and I think I had just as good as an experience the second time as I did the first time.
And Rob, I believe, has probably ridden it at least like a good 5 or 6 times, if not
Yeah,
more. And he
yeah,
tends to always have good experiences on
yeah.
it.
No, I had great experiences both times I rode it. I didn't feel like I lost anything by knowing it, by
You know
knowing
what?
the effects.
Maybe if I go back and I experience it without the stress of the boarding groups, I might appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's fair to do that.
Because the 2 times I did do it, it was with that boarding group thing hanging over your head, and it really felt like a do or die, life or death thing to get into this thing. You know what I mean?
No, that's
So
fair.
maybe if that pressure wasn't hanging over it and I could just go into it and enjoy it like with a 90-minute wait or whatever, maybe I would be able to relax with it a little bit more.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we only have 2 more parts.
Yes, we do. Only 2 more parts.
Indeed.
Now, get ready. Buckle in. Because shit's going to get wild. Get ready.
All right. Have a good one, folks. It's going to get crazy. Be prepared.
Goodbye.